Hello students, we have already discussed about functions and now we know functions are independent blocks of code that can be called again and again. We use functions in C or in any programming language so that we will achieve modularization of the code, that is dividing our code into different blocks so that each block is specialized for a particular task. Through functions we achieve modularity of the code, we achieve reusability of the code because same function can be called again and again as many times as it is required. Now again, functions can be grouped together and put in the library, and that way we'll have a library of the functions and we can use those functions, and whenever required we can also club functions into the header files, and then we can include those header files in our programs. We have certain functions that are available in the C. They are called as library functions, and there are certain functions that the programmer is able to create or define. These are called as user defined functions. Through functions we can achieve understandability of the code because the program is divided into different sections. Again, the functions reduce the development time of the programmers because once they have created the functions, those functions can be included in any programming module that you want to develop. So this reduces the development of what you call development time of the software projects. Now, functions also make it easy to debug the program because if there is an error in a particular function, it can be easily identified. If we have a flat structure of the program where we don't divide our programs into functions, then it will be very difficult to debug such codes, as well as the understandability of such codes will be lesser as compared to the programs with the functions. So these were the advantages of the functions. Now let us proceed, and this lecture I have designed particularly so that you will be able to code the functions in an efficient way. And there are some more concepts that I have added, and it's a sort of revision plus programming exercise plus some new functions. Some new concepts. Okay, now what are the design considerations of a function? Before designing a particular function, we should identify the inputs to that functions. Once we know the number of inputs, and we should also know the data type of each input. This is important for the design of a function and has an effect on the function design, particularly the first line of the function, that is the declarator. Now we should also identify the output of the functions. Normally the functions produce single output, and we should know the data type of each output. Sometimes the functions do not produce output and their outputs are simply in the form of messages, that is, they don't compute any values. Such functions have a return type as a void. Now the third important thing that we should identify in order to design the functions effectively, that is the processing steps required for a function to achieve the output. Now, so far as design of the function is concerned, two things are important. One is the definition of the function. This is called as function implementation. And second is, once you have defined a function, or you have implemented a particular function, or you have coded a particular function, then how we use that function. That is called as a function call. So function call is nothing but using a function. But before calling a function, we need to define a function. That's called as function definition or function implementation. We have already discussed it. I am giving you a quick brush through the concepts. Now, function definition again has two parts. One is the function declarator, that is the first line of the function, and the body of a function. And body is the place where we write the processing steps of a function, and the body necessarily has one more thing, that is the return statement, in case the function computes some value. If the function does not compute a value, then the body will not have a return statement. It is possible that function can have multiple return statements, or a function can return more than one value. These are bit advanced concepts, and I'll show you those concepts also, but this is for the preliminary, what you call, level, and for clearing your basic fundamentals. Now, as I told you, function definition consists of two parts. One is the function declarator. What is a function declarator? It is the first line of the function. The first line of the function that mentions the return type, the function name, and data type variable 1, data type variable 2. Now, next comes the body. The body of a function is always enclosed within the curly braces, okay, and the body has a return statement. This I have clarified. This is the structure of a function, where the function has got first line where it is mentioned return type, function name, data type variable 1, data type variable 2, then data type output variable 1, then processing statements, then return output variable 1. Actually, the syntax of the return statement is bit advanced, but I am simply using return output variable. That means I declare a variable in which I am storing the answer which the function is computing. This is for preliminary stage, so that you don't get confused with the concepts of the function. Once I clear certain other concepts, we can go for bit advanced level. Okay. Now, as I told you before designing the function, one has to identify the inputs, and one has to identify the outputs and processing steps. Let us see where they affect the design of the function. Now, so far as data inputs are concerned, and number of the data inputs is concerned, and their data type is concerned, it affects at one place, that is color coded into the in blue, and I have written also this in blue, that is it affects what is within the short braces and function call. So the data type of the inputs affects at two places. First is within these short braces, that is in the first line of the function, you have to declare the data type of each input variable and the variable name. So the number of inputs, suppose there are three inputs, then we have to declare three variables, and we should know what is their data type. Once I take some example, it will be further clarified. Now, again, the number of inputs will affect another thing, that is the function call. When we call a function, we will have to pass the arguments to the function. These arguments are called as actual arguments, and the arguments declared at in the first line of the function, that is in the function declarator, are called as formal arguments or formal parameters. So the number of inputs has effect at two places. You should remember it. First, in the first line of the function, that is within these short braces, as the number of inputs, so many variables you have to declare, and accordingly their data type. Second, it affects the function call. How? It affects the function call how? Because in the function call, you will always give the number of actual arguments equal to number of inputs, not more than that, not less than that. Okay. Now, second is number and data type of the outputs. What is the number of outputs, and what are the data types of the output? Normally, I told you function produces a single output, so I'll be focusing on single output functions. We have to mention how does their number and data type affect. Since I told you there is a single output, what you call, usually functions produce a single output, therefore it affects at following places. First is here return type. Return type is the data type of the output that is produced. Second is the variable we declare inside the function where we store the result. That means our output variable is declared within the function. Though it's not necessary we go by this method, but I told you, since you are in a preliminary stage, and it will be easy for you that way, to design a function. So you know the number of outputs now. So that many variables you declare. Normally I told you there is a single output, so you declare a single variable inside a function. Okay. Then in the return type, whatever is the data type of the output variable, that should be mentioned in the return type. Same data type as the output variable's data type. Now again, in the return statement, you should mention the name of the output variable. So the output variable effects at the three places. First is the return type of the function is same as the data type of the output variable. Second is we have to declare the output variable within the function. Third is we have to mention the name of the output variable in the return statement. Fourth place where it affects is where the function is called. Where the function is called, the output variable's data type should match with the variable in which we are assigning the value that is returned by the function. I have already explained what do we mean by value that is returned by the function. If you want to clarify it further, you can again watch my first lecture on functions. Okay. Now what are the effects of the inputs on function definition and function? Function definition is also called as function implementation, and function call is by function call we mean using a function. So effects of the inputs, again I told you it's again at the two places. Sorry, yes, it is at the two places. First is at the in the function definition, that is in the first line of the function. Based on the number of the inputs, you have to declare that many variables within the short braces along with the data type in the function declarator. This I have already explained, but this is for further clarification. These variables are called as formal parameters or arguments. Second, the number of actual arguments in the function call, that is when we use a function, should match in number, order and data type of the formal arguments. So it should match in both number, order and data type of the formal arguments. Next, what is the effect of the output? As I told you, output effects at the following places. By output we mean the results that are produced by the function. The data type of the output variable should be mentioned in the return type in the function declarator. Okay. The name of the output variable should be mentioned in the return statement. Second place. The third is at the point of the function call, the data type of the variable in which the function value is assigned should be same or higher. Okay. Next is the processing steps. First was how the inputs affect the design of the function. Second was how the outputs affect the design of the function, and where it affects the design of the function, that is the number of outputs produced and their data type. Same way, what are the processing steps required to achieve the results? Processing steps may vary from function to function. Suppose we have a function that computes the sum of two numbers. In that function you have to find the sum of two numbers. Now if we have a function which finds the largest of the three numbers, where you don't have to do computation, there you have to do comparison. So processing step will be different. It will involve a conditional statement. In the first case it will involve the assignment statement where you have to find the sum of two numbers. Now if you want to sort an array in a function, suppose we write a function that sorts an array. In that function you might require loops in order to process the array elements. Then you will require comparisons, and you will require exchange of the contents of two variables. So the processing steps are different in this program. What I want to clarify is that it depends on the program or a function, what you are writing. Accordingly, the processing steps will be different for that function. Now, you can use following statements to realize that. You can use assignment statements within the function, you can use conditional statements within the function, you can use iterative statements within the function, you can use declarative statements within the function, you can use input-output statements within the function, and you can use unconditional statements. So there is no constraint. In any function you can use any statement, that is the assignment statement, conditional statement, iterative statement, declarative statement, unconditional statement, and input-output statements. There is no limitation that you can use only these. You can use only these statements in main. You can use all these statements in any function you code. Okay. Now, in case of expressions that you write in functions within a function or any function, you have to again keep into consideration. This is true of mostly of the arithmetic expressions, that you have to take care of typecasting, you have to take care of precedence, you have to take care of associative rules, And if you don't know them, you have to again watch my lectures. I have given already 1 or 2 lectures on that, and you have to see those lectures. Then you will know what is typecasting, you will know what is precedence, you will know what is associativity. So the function design is closely related with these concepts as well. Next, let us do something practically so that we understand how the number of inputs, number of outputs, and the processing statements affect the design of a function. Now let us write a program that finds the area of a rectangle. Okay, let us discuss how many inputs. If we compute the area of a rectangle, we know the formula is area is equal to length into breadth. So we need to know the length of a rectangle, and we need to know the breadth of the rectangle. Okay, so length and breadth are the two things we need to know, and they will serve as inputs to these functions, because if the function does not have these inputs, it won't be able to calculate the area. So if you see this particular function, you should see what are the values that are required by it to compute the desired output. In this case, our output should be area. Now the number of inputs are 2, that is the length and breadth. Now again, one more thing that you should identify is the data type of the these inputs, and this will be clear if you know a bit of mathematics, or if you don't know, then you have to ask the user for whom you are developing the program what is the data type of those variables that he is giving to you or supplying to you. Okay, then this depends on the particular situation. Now in this situation, I am computing the area of a rectangle, and most of us know the length and breadth, they are decimal numbers, and sometimes they can be non-decimal as well, but since if we use float, that can include both decimal and non-decimal as equally double. This is equally true of a double data type. But if we use integer data type, you know that it cannot hold decimal value, so the suitable data type for the length is float or double. Okay, so you can use float, you can use double for data type of the length, and same is true of the breadth, because these are decimal values usually. Okay, length and breadth can be in decimal points. Length can be suppose 10.2, or breadth can be 10.3 centimeters, so on and so forth. Okay, we are not doing unit conversion in this program. We are simply accepting, we are assuming that the user is giving 2 inputs, length and breadth, in same units, and we are producing the area in the same units. Okay, so we have to be clear about what are our inputs and what is the nature of their inputs and how many inputs are there, and most important things are what is the number of inputs. So once you know the number of inputs, it will be easy for you to design the function. As we know that number of inputs affect the first line of the function, that is the function declarator, where you give the return type, the name of a function, and within short braces you give the list of those variables that are required for the input of a function. Okay, now next is what is the output of the function. As we know, the output or the result of this function is that it has to compute the area. So number of outputs is 1. I told you usually I will be handling those functions where we have a single output. Then again, what is the processing required? Processing required is area is equal to length into breadth. Okay, now let us see how the number of inputs affect our function. Okay, as I told you, if you find the number of inputs, there are 2 inputs to this function, so it will vary from function to function how many number of inputs it has. For example, if I find the volume of a cuboid, it will have 3 inputs, length, breadth and height. But here, since I am finding the area of a rectangle, I have got only 2 inputs. So the number of inputs will vary from one program to another, but you have to identify the number of inputs. Where will it affect? It is here, here. That is in these 2 short braces. You have to declare that many number of variables as is the number of inputs for that particular function. So since this function now has 2 inputs, length and breadth, see, I have declared 2 variables. One is the length and one is the breadth, and equally I have given their data type, that is the float and the float. Okay, and now you know the number of inputs where it affects the design of the function. This is my function. My function has got return type, the name of a function. Within the short braces there are formal parameters or formal arguments. Then comes the body of function. Within these 2 curly braces, every function will have this format only. First it will have a return type, then it will have a name of function, then it will have formal arguments or formal parameters within the short braces, then within the curly braces there will be the body of the function, and that body of a function will compute the result. Okay, I have not computed the result here. I have not written the processing step here, so don't be confused. We have to write that. Okay. Now, so this is where, because I am here discussing the inputs and outputs and their influence on the design of the function. Now, if we know number of outputs, it affects at following places. See, first I know the output should be area, and since length and breadth are in float, so area will be produced in a float mostly. Okay. So once length and breadth are in float, so area will be produced in a float. Okay. Now, so why does it affect? First, we declare a variable of the name area, that is number of outputs. As many is the number of outputs, we have to declare that many number of variables within the function. Since our output is single, I have to declare a variable float of area. Okay. Then the data type of this area is float. So in the return type, I mentioned the data type of the output variable, that is float. And in the return statement, if you see, I have mentioned the name of area. This is this, and this completes my design. I have not written the processing step. Okay. Now in the call to function, how does it affect? As is the data type of this area, that is the float, so should be the return type, and so should be the data type of a variable in which I am assigning the function. I am assigning the value which the function is returning at the point of a call. Okay. And if you see, the number of arguments that I am supplying to this function are 2. Why? Because I told you, the as is the number of inputs, so many is the number of the arguments that are passed to the function. I hope it's clear. Now let us go into the IDE and practically see how we do these things, or how we design this function. Okay. So the name of the function is area of a rectangle. Okay. This is our every program should have a main. Now we name this function as area rect. Okay. Then we decide for the number of inputs we have. Accordingly, we have number of what we call formal arguments or formal parameters. Then this is the basic structure of the function. If you see main, it has got this two curly braces. So has the area of rect, it has got these two curly braces, and it has got these two short braces. Now I have not mentioned the return type deliberately here. Now as we know that there are two inputs to the function, that one is length and one is breadth. I can call it as float. We have already explained that. Length, comma, float, breadth. So in this case, the function argument, what you call declarations should in the function declarator should be separated by commas, and in the end there is no terminator here at the end. Okay. Then we declare the output variable float answer in this. Then again we have to do one more thing. Since the data type of the answer is float, so we mention return type here as float. So function declarator has got the return type, which is same as the return type of the output variable where we store the answer, and then we have got to depending on the number of inputs, we have got that many formal parameters. Okay. Then in the return statement, we mention the name of the output variable, that is answer. Okay. I think this is clear. Let me add watch to the following things, that is to the answer and to the length and to the breadth. Actually this spelling here. Okay, so I have added the wash to 3 things. Okay, now one more thing is that I have to write the processing step. Processing step is simply answer equal to length into breadth. Okay, so next thing is that we have to declare a variable here. Its data type I declare as float. Why I declare it as float? Because data type of the output variable and the variable where the answer is assigned should be same. I say float of x. Now by calling or using a function, how do you call? You write variable equal to function call, that is area rect, since the name of the function is area rect. Then we pass the two arguments, say 2.4 comma 2. Okay, this can be also passed as float because I have declared float. In float variable you can pass both as decimal values and non-decimal values. Let us run this program. Let us see the errors. Oh, I have to give name as breadth because I have declared the variable at the top in the form as well as the breadth. Now this is compiled. Okay, let us now first here. Let us understand this first. Now as we know the number of inputs is 2, so I declared two formal arguments. Let us go into the previous slide and see what I have mentioned. Let's see. Effect of the inputs. Based on the number of the inputs, you have to declare that many variables within the short braces. If you see, I have declared two variables within the short braces. One is the length and one is the breadth. Okay, because the number of inputs in our case was 2. Then data type of each variable I have declared as float. This we have already discussed. These variables are called formal parameters or arguments. Now the number of actual arguments, one is the formal arguments and another is the actual. That is when you use a function or call a function, the arguments you supply, they are called as actual arguments. You can again watch my previous video on functions and it will be clear. The number of the actual arguments in function call should match in number, order and data type of the formal arguments. Let us see here. Now if you see here, I have given how many arguments? I have given actual arguments I have given 2.4 and 2. The value of these arguments will be passed to the formal arguments. Let us see that practically. See here, I am calling main is calling area of rectangle, so calling function is main, called function is area of rect. A main is called caller also, or callee or calling. We can call it as a caller or calling. And area of rect is a called function. Once the function is called, control is transferred to the called function. By meaning control is transferred to the called function. I have already discussed what is the control row. That is the control. Now the statements of main won't be executed. It will be the statements of area of rect that will be executed. Now see here, if you see, control has transferred to the area of rect. Okay, once the control is transferred here, if you see length and breadth, they have the value 2.4 and 2. How? Because actual arguments copy is passed to the formal arguments. This is also called as a call by value. So these two values were passed to length and to the breadth. Okay, now next what happens, that answer is equal to length into breadth. Okay, if you see the answer, that is computed as 4.8. that's correct because 2.4 into 2 is 4.8. now that answer is returned to the main. If you see now value of x here, let us watch that also. Value of x, you see here x is also 4.8. how did x get this value 4.8? This is because we called a function. Control was transferred to the function. Function did its task by because its statements were executed, and the result of those statements was passed here at the point of call, and that was assigned to the x. That is why x got the value 4.8. Okay, so who is the calling function? Since the function is called within the main, so calling function is main, and the value of the formal arguments is passed to the the value of the actual arguments is passed to the formal arguments. Let us see one more thing here. If I give more number of actual arguments, what happens? As I told, they should match in order, number and type. Okay, see here, there's an error. What is the error? You can check the error, extra parameter. So since you can check it, see here, extra parameter is called in a call to, because you have already declared two parameters or two arguments, so you have to pass that many arguments only, and they should be passed in same order. That means if you have used length here as the first argument, the first value will be taken as length and the second value will be taken as breadth. The compiler won't report error if you pass different data types, or you pass don't use the same order. Errors won't be reported. But the careful thing in the design of the function and the responsibility of the programmer to pass the values in the same order in which the formal parameters. The actual arguments should be passed in the same order in which the actual formal arguments have been declared. Okay, so this is what is meant by this select, that is based on the number of inputs we have to declare that many variables within the short braces along with their data types, which we have done in the function declarator. These variables are called as formal parameters or arguments. The number of actual arguments in a function call should match in order data type of the formal arguments. Let us see next. The effect of the output. What is the effect of the output? I mean, what is the effect of the number of outputs on the function design? That we have discussed already. Let us see what is the effect. The data type of the output variable should be mentioned in the return statement. Okay, in the function declarator. Okay, the name of the output variable should be mentioned in the return statement. Okay, the name of the variable. And at the point of the function call, the data type of the variable in which the function value is assigned should be same or add. Let us see if we have done that or not. Now see here. First, I declared a variable, output variable answer. Data type of answer is float. So in the return type I also mentioned float in the first line before the name of the function. Okay, so the return type is float. Okay, this should match. The return type of the output variable or the result should match with the return type of the function in the first line, that is in the function declarator. Next, in the return statement I mentioned the name of the output variable. This is again the name of the output variable is answer, and because I am writing this program, I am storing my answer or the result in answer, therefore I mentioned its name here. Wherever you will be storing your results, the name of that variable should be mentioned in the return statement. Actually, in the return statement there are many other wayouts other than this, but I am taking the simple cases so that once you get used to how to design the function, then we can see other flexibilities that are possible for writing a function. Right now I am assuming that you declare a variable, output variable. That way you can understand what should be the return type. That way you can understand what should be written with the return. This return statement is actually a statement that transfers control back to the calling function. In this case the calling function is main. If you see here again, I call the function, okay, main is calling area of rect. Now area of rect is being executed. Its statements are executed by one. Once the return statement is encountered in the area of rect, control is transferred back to the main. See here, control is transferred back to the main, and we got the result within the main. Again, if you see, the data type of x is float, and this is same as the data type of the answer, that is our result. Okay, this is where the output our output affects the design of the function. First, the return type data type of the output should be mentioned in the return type. Second, we should declare a variable of the same data type as the output variable, and we should store our answer in that output variable, that is in the processing step, and then we should return the value to the calling function using a return statement. And in the return statement, again, return is the unconditional control flow statement. As I told you, there are conditional control flow statements and unconditional control flow statements. So return is the unconditional control flow statement. It transfers control back to the calling function or a caller, that is main in this case. Okay, now let us see a few more examples so it will be clear. Let us design few more functions. I think effect of output is clear. The processing step I told you in this is achieved by through assignment statements, and we have not tried this one. We'll try this in next example. Now the next example is where you have to find area of a triangle, and it has got two inputs, one is base and one is altitude. So, and it has got only one output, that is the area. Let us again design this function so that it will be clear how we write function. Okay, now you can write as many function definitions as you want in C, but or C++, but you should not declare one function within the body of another function. Now you cannot declare the function within this body because this is the body of area of rectangle, that is within these two curly braces. Let us define another function called as area triangle. I'll got area try. It has got three arguments. What is the argument? One is a float, alt, and altitude as in short form I write, then float of base. Okay, then this as I told you, as is the number of inputs, that many are variables you have to declare in the function declarator. Again, the area of a triangle is float, so we'll declare output variable or result variable where we'll store a result as area. Okay, and in the area we'll write expression area is equal to 1/2 of star of base into altitude. Okay, now since then in return statement what we have to mention, the name of output variable. What's the name of output variable? That is area. Okay, now return type of the function should be also float. Now where we are assigning the answer in the calling function, that is here. Now let me call this function instead of this is area of area try, that is area try. Then how many arguments? 2 arguments. You can pass this first argument as 4. Okay, let us use this function and see what the result. Now instead main is calling area of try. Main can call any function that has been defined in the program. Okay, now our program has been divided into 3 functions or modules. One is area of triangle, and one is main, and one is area rectangle. Okay, now let us call area of triangle. Now here you see the control is transferred to area of triangle, the result is computed, and it is returned to the main. Okay, let us watch now area. Okay, as you see the area is 0. You know the result for this is because we have not taken in the precautions of typecasting in this expression, and we have not checked the precedence, and we have not checked the associativity. Whenever you write arithmetic expressions, you have to ensure that, see here, you will get a wrong result in x, that is 0. But what was the problem? We have already discussed in typecasting. We should declare this as, we should change one of the arguments to operands to float. I change this one because I have been usually changing the first one. Now operation involved is division. 2 operands are 1 and 2. In order to typecast a operand, you have to mention the data type before that operand in the short braces. Depends on which data type you are actually typecasting. This is a programmer based, and this is how we overcome the implicit typecasting, that is the default typecasting of the C compiler. Because in the C compiler there is a limitation, integer by integer produce integer, and this leads to a disaster as you have seen. Now let us compile it again. See here, I am calling area of triangle. If you see here now, area is not 0, it is 4, because we have resolved the problem. Now so far as precedence is concerned, there was not any problem because division and multiplication have the same precedence. Initially 1 by 2 will be calculated now correctly, and that will be 0.5, and to that base and altitude are multiplied, and once base and altitude are multiplied, you get the correct answers. Okay, so here is why you got the correct answer. In the return variable x also you have got the correct value. Okay, now this was how we designed another function. So we have designed 2 functions today, user defined function. One is area of rectangle and one is area of triangle. In this example I am showing you we should be careful about typecasting and associativity rules whenever we are writing assignment statements, whether in main or in any other function body. Okay, so you should take care of that. Now let us see another example. Another example is s is equal to ut plus 1 of at square, that is distance is equal to initial velocity into time plus 1/2 of acceleration into time. If you see, there are 3 inputs here. One is u, t and a, and there is one output, that is s. As you know, number of inputs affects the number of the formal arguments that we have to declare in the function declarator, and number of output affects the return type and the variable that we have to declare inside the function. And then in the return statement we have to mention the what we call the name of the output variable, and in the calling function you have to give the same data type to the variable in which you are assigning the value as the output variable. Okay, let us see that. Let us design this function. Now we'll call this function as s. Again, the return type will be float here. The name of the function is s. The inputs are float of u, comma, float float of a, and float of t. Okay, these are the three arguments that you require here, and this is the number of inputs effects here in the formal arguments, and a call to a function where you have to give the same number of actual arguments. Now I can call s here, and how many arguments I have to give? Actual arguments I have to give 3, because I have to give 3 formal arguments. Okay, now I write now I declare a variable where I'll store an answer, that is our output variable. I can say float of s, but function name and a variable name declared inside the function cannot have the same name, so I call this my function as fun s. Then I'll call also as fun s. Now fun s, because in the call to a function you give the same name as the function name s. Now float s is equal to ut, that is u into t. I have already explained. You have to write the operator plus 1/2 of a. Now again you have to write star a, star t, star t. We don't have t square here again. In the mathematics it's understood, if I write a only and I don't write a star or multiply symbol, it will work, because if you don't write a symbol and you write the name of two variables in mathematics adjacently, it means one is multiplied to the another. Okay, but here you have to specify the operator in C. Now what are the, since we have written arithmetic expression and a assignment statement, on the left of assignment statement there will be a single variable. We have already discussed that in previous videos. Now in the right there is a arithmetic expression. Again there will be a problem of typecasting here, so I typecast it to float. Okay, now let us check whether precedence is not creating any problem. Then we can break the precedence with braces. Now initially multiplications have the and divisions have the higher precedence than addition, so multiplications and divisions will be performed first, but since only one operation can be performed at a time, so we go from left to right. So initially u is multiplied to 2t, sorry, that then we get an intermediate result. Then we do one more thing, that is, sorry, compiler does one more thing, it divides 1 by 2 and multiplies that answer with a and t and t. Okay, then the two answers you got, and finally they will be added. So there is no problem here. We can say return s. Okay, then you can see here you can call this function. I give 3 values, the 3 values are given, and I can again watch, sorry, I can watch my variable, that is s, and if you see initially it's chunk, and after this it has got a value 96. You can compute this at your place for the values of your u and t. Since you have given 4, 2 and 8, you can compute and it will see it is correct, and the value is returned, and the same value is assigned to the x also, so my function has worked. Okay, let us now see one more thing that's important. Now function call or using a function. In function call you can give the actual argument as an expression. Actually, since we know expression can be a value, or it can be a variable, or it can be a function call, or it can be an expression itself, that we have discussed in the previous video about what you call arithmetic expressions. You need to watch that. These are the 4 possibilities for the value actually, and for the expression, that is, since expression ultimately gets a value, or in a function call also returns a value, then variable contains a value, and value also is a value. So let us now see it practically. What are the different possibilities, and it will be clarified. Now you can pass argument as a value, which we have already done. Now you can also pass argument as variable, actual argument. I can say int f is equal to 90. Now instead of passing this constant, I can pass f. So some arguments are constants here, and these two actual arguments are constant, and the first actual argument is a variable. Now that variable will be passed to the function. Okay, if you will be watching the value of u, let us watch that, because the copy of the first argument goes into u. If you see u here, the value of u is 90, and value assigned to f is also 90, so copy of f has gone into u. This This is what I mean by that actual argument can be a value or it can be a variable. Now let us see if it can be an expression. Okay, we can say f plus 9, that is 9 plus 99. Let us see this if that works. Now see here, f plus 9 I have given as an argument, and since the first part is an expression and the value of this expression will be copied to u, see here u is 99. So you can pass the argument. Actual argument can be a constant, it can be a variable, or it can be a expression. It can equally be a function call. Now let me call this function, that is area of rectangle. Okay, see here, this is just to make you understand. Otherwise logically there is no relation here between the two things, but this is just to make you understand. Area rect. Now if you see, the first argument is a call to, actual argument is a call to function, the second argument is a constant, and let me make second argument as a variable. Okay, and third argument I can make as an expression. Okay, expression means suppose 2 plus say f. Okay, let us see what happens here. F7, so it's working, no problem. But initially, since the argument is a call to a function, one of the actual arguments is a call to function, it will call first this function area of rect, it will compute the area of rect, and that value will be returned to that value will be returned to the main, and that value will be now passed as u's value. So if you see, value of u is now 6. Why it is 6? Because we have given length and breadth as 2 and 3. There was a call to area to rect and computed 2 into 3, that is 6, and that 6 was substituted here at the point of call. So one of the arguments to function s is now 6. Now another argument is f. What is the value of f? That is 90. If you watch a, you will see that is 90, because second argument is here is a in the top. If you see, second argument is a, and the copy of f now goes into a, and the third argument is t. If you watch t, it will be having the value 2 plus f. What is the value of f? That is 2 plus 90. Okay, on t, let us watch the value of t. See here, it's 92, because 2 plus 90 is 92. So my argument can be, my actual argument can be a call to a function, it can be a variable, it can be an expression, or it can be a value. Since all these four are the same forms of the same thing, that is, all of them represent a value. If you feel technical difficulty in understanding what I have said, you need to see my video lecture on what you call arithmetic expressions. Okay, that way it will be clear, because ultimately you are passing values to the function, and values can be in the form of constants, or they can be in the form of variable which already have the values in them, or they can be in the form of expression, because expression ultimately produce a value, and they can be a function call, because function call always returns a value at the point of call, provided that function returns a value. Okay, so this is all about. Now once all arguments are passed to function s, the value is computed for the s, and it is returned to the main, and that value is stored in x. Okay, that value is stored in x. Okay, you can see here x has got this value now. Okay, now so what are the different types of actual arguments that can be passed to function? The different arguments that are possible are value, or a constant, or a variable, or a function call, or an expression, or a mixture of arguments. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson and you have learned how to design a function, and we have seen now that the number of inputs where they influence the function design, and number of outputs how it influences the function design, and function definition, and what you call calling a function. And then we have seen how the processing steps can be written for a particular function, since the processing steps vary from function to function. I hope you will continue watching these lectures. This will be inshallah beneficial for all of you. Thank you.